Hey, y'all. How y'all doing out there? Get your coffee, get your weed, get whatever you need. I am back, y'all. It is 2026, and Yapping with the Stars is going to yap some more as we go into this new year. So, welcome, welcome, y'all. Good morning, good morning. I am back. I am back. I'm alive. And I got some shit I want to talk about. So come on in, y'all. If you are listening on any of my other platforms in which this show is placed, so my YouTube or on Spotify or Apple, I record this show live every week at 11 a.m. Central Standard Time on my Patreon. So if you want to catch the live, so you can also interact with me on the chat, because I do engage with my chat, because I appreciate folks who are willing to get up and listen to me live and engage, right? Then you can go ahead and subscribe to my Patreon. You can join at the free level. So anyone at the free level and higher has access to my lives. And I do go live outside of the Yapping with the Stars tapings on Sundays. But for the recordings and other exclusive content and material, then you can join at higher levels, starting at the groundscape level, which is only $5 a month, to be able to engage more with my work. And if you don't know who I am, I will get to that shortly, all right? So welcome, y'all. Welcome, y'all. So it's Capricorn season, if you haven't noticed. And she's been loud, okay? And she's been leaving her mark with this rare triple conjunction that we are still in of personal planets. So we have had Venus, Sun, Mars, all tightly together in a very rare conjunction because of the degrees. They've not been separated. They still collide with each other, moving as they go from Capricorn into Aquarius. But right now in Capricorn season, with this weird conjunction and Mercury not far off, we are having to get to the bones of things, get to the roots of things, get to the structures of things, right? So what has been brought to the surface in this time of Capricorn for you, and do you actually believe? Let's get into it this week, y'all. So this is the weekly forecast for January 11th through 17th, a week of getting to the bones of things. We are knee deep in Capricorn season. So welcome back to Yapping with the Stars, the show where I talk about what it means and takes for us to become human once again, in a world that is trying to convince us that this is all there is, and it's not. So let's talk with the cosmos and see what is possible. I am your host and guide, Nicole Rawls, the storyteller who comes from a line of storytellers who weave and tell stories in many different ways. And as an anthropologist, astrologer, and artist, I work with astrology and ethnography to explore the stories of what it means for us to be human. Because right now the present is up for grabs. So who is leading the stories that will bring us into our futures? Now, every Sunday we check in with the chaos we call society and ask two questions. What's the cosmos showing us this week? And so then with that, what are we being called to move, create, burn, build, and or reflect upon? All right. And y'all, there's a lot of shit going on. We might only be 11 days into this kind of calendar new year, but we are really in the muck, in the mud, in the thick of the collapse of the structures, right, that have been collapsing for a while. And that's what I want to talk about this week, okay? I want to talk about Saturn. Because Saturn, yes, it's so much shit going on, right, Grace? And this makes sense. So let's talk about it, Grace. What is going on and why is there so much shit going on? It's because everything has now gotten personal. Right? When I talked about this weird conjunction, if you were on the Patreon last week, I did do a live just for the Patreon because I wanted to get some kind of thoughts out as we were in that full moon energy, but also the kind of beginning of this conjunction between Venus, Sun, and Mars. Now, this is really important. These are very personal planets. And then Mercury was also in Capricorn. So we're talking about our sense of self, right? Our hearts. Remember, the Sun is the heart. The Sun's also the father. That's important. Then we got Mars. Mars is our drive, is our passion. It's war, it's strategy, okay? It's aggression, but it's also creation. Don't forget, Mars is also not just destruction, it's creation. Then you've got Venus. Venus is relationships. Yes, it is love, but it is justice, right? And it is the balance of things. So it is that culture, but Venus can be cold. So where people believe that Mars is the thing that's always the destructive thing, Venus actually destroys because Venus creates. Venus and Mars always in a balance. We're going to come back to that in a minute. And then we got Mercury here. Mercury is the planet of communication. Mercury is the crossroad. Mercury is the trickster. But the trickster being forcing all of us to have to make a choice. So whose lens are we using? Whose knowledge are we engaging with in order to make the decision? Because Mercury rules knowledge rules logics, rules communication, right? Rules transportation. So all of these things are very personal. But remember, Capricorn is opposite Cancer. When we're looking at what's going on in the sky, y'all, always remember that there's a logic here. And I'm talking about logics a lot, especially if you work with me one-on-one or in the Patreon. Logic is really important. You have to understand how and why something is operating. And this is really important right now because we're seeing the logic and illogics of the structures that are, again, crumbling at our feet. Capricorn ruling structures and systems. We are knee-deep in Capricorn season. So when we have these structures and systems in place that we are realizing are cracking at our feet, well, when we look at the logic of astrology, the sister sign, the sign that is opposite the sign we are in, tells us how we can find the balance or an alleviation, or it gives us some insight of what's going on. So what's the opposite of Capricorn? Cancer. I've been talking about Cancer a lot the last few months, honestly, because of all the new moons since Virgo until we get to Pisces. All of them, before Aries happens, have been at 28 degrees. Not a huge degree person, but 28 degrees is the Cancerian degree. And when we use that lens to kind of understand what has been forced to kind of re-examine in each of these new moon cycles, they've been a Cancerian aspect of that sign, right? So now we are in Capricorn season and everything is very personal, and all of those aspects of those planets that I just talked about, Venus, Mars, Sun, Mercury, right? In the sign of Capricorn, which is ruled by what? Saturn. Where is Saturn right now? Saturn's over in Pisces, making her way, because she's direct, into Aries, what is also in Pisces? Neptune. Neptune and Saturn are about to meet. They're going to meet in Aries exactly at a 0-degree conjunction. We are feeling right now, I would argue, the beginning, a prelude, a preamble, if you want to say, to what's going to happen when we get Saturn and Neptune drying out at 0 degrees in Aries. And I say that because Saturn is preparing us. Saturn is trying to show us as the mother, not the mother, what it means and what is required of us in order for a new world to emerge. This is the requirement of world building, y'all. In order to build new world, you got to take responsibility for the fucked up world we are in. Everything is crumbled. And if on Tuesday in particular, you started to feel it personally in some way, shape, or form, that is because the sun met Venus. There was a new beginning, what they call a Kazemi. Anytime a planet meets the sun at Kazemis, it begins anew. It gets washed in light. Washed in light. So therefore, fire. We are being washed and being cleansed through fire, y'all, right now. Not through water. That's what Saturn's going through. We're going to come back to that in a minute. We are being washed through fire. What happens when fire clarifies? It burns, right? It burns, it clears, it lays waste to what needs to be laid waste so that the land can now be more fertile for something else to grow. Venus is the thing that is making shit pop right now, because Venus, as the lower octave, right? The lower octave of Neptune, but also the planet that rules relationships, rules justice, rules the justice, rules the law, rules money, all of these kind of constructions and systems that have been confined. There is a washing of fire right now that happened, which means all that shit had to be burned up, the structures and systems of it in Capricorn. It got to the bones of things. And now that the sun has met Mars this weekend, if you felt your anger, your irritation, your rage, just anything, even joy, but it feels like it's a fire joy, it feels like you want to do something, that's because Mars has now been washed through fire. But Mars likes fire. See, Venus is water and earth. Fire going through that can either harden her, right? Or unless you mold it into something. But Mars can handle fire. Fire and fire eye, but it can explode. That's why the balance of fire is water. But do we know how to work with the fire? Right? If the fire is emerging in you, it's telling you to do something. Do you know what to do? Or do you become paralyzed and move to the mind? And the mind takes over because Mercury's also here. And so you think by thinking something, you've done something, but the body has not moved. So it's asking you to move so the fire gets more. We are beginning to feel what it's going to feel like and what happens when systems collapse and we take no responsibility. Shit is going to go haywire. So this is Saturn as the mother, as the one who herself had to be washed through the waters for the past 2 years of Pisces, because she has also been constructed and constricted and bounded by the patriarch for millennia. This goes beyond the colonial project, y'all. The first colonial project was the patriarchal one that told us that the Father, Son, and Holy Ghost somehow made sense, that told us somehow that you can have creation without any kind of wound, any kind of waters, any kind of relationship to something else. You can dominate it. This is a millennial old struggle we're going through. So if Saturn's been washed through the deep waters and she is saying that, yes, a new world is coming, but shit, have y'all seen what happens when you don't take responsibility for constructing that new world by first getting to the structures that have been embedded in you? Cancer, Capricorn is the earth feminine side of Saturn. It is the backbone. It is our literal bones, y'all. It is our teeth. It is the structure. So how have we been made in the image of a God that does not like us? How have we given up our systems to a structure that tells us that it will always take and never give back to us? What does it mean to reflect upon the delusions we bought into, thinking that if we just vote or just not vote, somehow that will give us some type of elevation or some type of freedom making, right? Saturn and Pisces right now, next to Neptune, has dissolved everything. When you go through the deep waters, it dissolves. When you meet Neptune, it dissolves. Everything has been cleansed through Neptune, but Neptune also has dried out in Aries once. So now that Neptune has dried out and come back in and cleansed herself as well, we are now going back out. It is a new world. What is the structure? But in order to have a structure, what is the story? What is the story? What is the mythos? What is the origin that lays the foundations that help construct the new structures that will then start to construct and bind us once again? So who is doing the binding and why? If the present is up for grabs, who is grabbing it? And you grab it by the stories that we tell. So right now we are being told to get to the bones of shit, to get to the depths of shit. We are having all kinds of things emerge, right? Do you believe the structure now? Do you see it? Do we all see it? Do we see how it's embedded in us? And if we're looking to the opposite of Cancer, and Jupiter is there, and Jupiter expands, and Jupiter is retrograde right now, Big Daddy is doing some work retrograding, right? We always give all of this kind of accolades to Jupiter, and then we shit all over Saturn. But I was talking to a client this week. I said, we give all this stuff to Jupiter, but Jupiter's the good time dad. How long does a good time last? Who is there in the aftermath ensuring that shit is maintained? But then who gets shitted on for trying to maintain something that was always broken? But because it is broken under the guise of a good time, we keep looking to the good time, not realizing that that is what is keeping us broken. So Jupiter retrograde is expanding the ways that Cancer, we have not been cared for. We have not been cared for by structures that told us they would, because Jupiter rules Pisces. This is a parent conversation. The parents of the zodiac are trying to parent us, and they're saying, do you believe, y'all? Do you believe? It has to come into the body. They are teaching us what it means to embody knowledge, y'all. So how do your bones feel? How do your teeth feel? Right? How's your sleep? Do you believe? Are you feeling what is going on? Not just thinking it. Do you feel it? Everything's in Capricorn personally. So the shit should feel personal. It should feel. I'm sick of the ways that modern astrology, but even honestly, traditional astrology through the patriarchal lens makes anything about feeling somehow an issue. Capricorn feels. I am sick of this kind of archetypical understanding of Capricorn as this, whether it be from a masculine or feminine body, as the Wall Street bro, or the one that's always working and is always not feeling. No, y'all feel too much. You're too fucking loyal to the wrong goddamn things. That's the problem. We have been told to be loyal to the wrong systems and structures. We have been told to be loyal to the wrong types of entities, the wrong relationships. We don't take care of our bones. Capricorns, stelliums. How are your teeth? How are your bones? You listen to your bones. Are you even in your body? Because if you were in your body, would you be working the way you do? Or would you stop, stare, look around and ask yourself, what am I doing this for? What am I building and why? Virgos, my Virgos, the other Earths. How's your stomach? How's your digestion? What are you digesting and why? And the first thing you got to ask yourself is, what are you digesting and how you talk to your fucking selves? And I'm saying that to myself as well. We digested the logics of a state that don't like us, because it's built upon a war god that can't stand us but needs our sacrifice. So it tricked the patriarch, and the patriarch's dumbass believed this war god, and now for the past millennia, we are all subjugated to a structure and system that makes no sense. But we are told this is the logic that somehow will get us to some type of salvation, but when you're dead. How much sense does that make? So then Virgo becomes the servant, the maiden, the one who's the virgin. We forget that the virgin before these patriarchal structures was a person, a woman that could own her own shit, right? So let's question this. What happens if you take that tongue that it can be so exacting and exactly put it where it belongs to these structures that don't make no fucking sense and build something else? Fuck trying to be perfect. Be messy. Allow the mess to come out of the body and out there, because that's creation, y'all. Virgos are so fucking creative. So you got to stop criticizing the self, get it out of the body, embody it, y'all, and create out. Tauruses, my Tauruses. It's a Taurus moon. Is that really safety or security? Or are you too goddamn scared to actually go your own way? The bull does need to make its own way. Yes, security and safety is needed. Comfort is there. I want to feel good, but are we actually feeling good? Do we actually feel? Or are we maintaining something because we're too scared to be alone and figure out what feeling means, right? When we take back the structure, which is the body, y'all, and rethink even how we are taught the body, taught the earth, taught the bones of things, if we dissolve, Saturn's saying, if we dissolve those understandings, then what will we create? That's why there's so much shit going on. Because we're seeing just how hard that is. And we're also seeing how easy it is to want to hold on to what already has been, right? And that's why I'm so adamant about this idea of naming what is going on right now and understanding it as a spiritual warfare. It always has been, but not putting that spiritual warfare outside of a structural analysis. If you follow me or engage with my work, and when I say follow, I hate that fucking terminology. If you engage with my work, okay, if you engage with my work, I like that much better. You know that I talk a lot about my Trinity. Sound spiritual practice requires a strong structural analysis that is culturally situated. There's a logic to this shit, y'all. There's a logic to this stuff. If there is no logic in what you are learning, whether it be spiritual or mundane, then that is a cult. All right? If there is no logic to it, but you just buy into it, you just believe, have faith, that is a cult, because faith requires a logic. Jupiter is in Cancer right now. Jupiter is the spiritual leader. Jupiter is also law and order. Jupiter is saying, right, even if you want to talk about, the feelings, and all this shit needs to have an order to it. It has to make some kind of sense. So what is the sense that is being made? And because in Pisces, one of the signs that Jupiter rules, Saturn is there with Neptune. Saturn is saying, has these goddamn things made sense? We are going into a time in which we are having to challenge, and we're going to be challenged by, and having to renegotiate our relationship to faith. So spirit's always been here. The construct and conceptualization of spirit and how we understand our relationship to that spirit will then dictate how we understand our relationship to ourselves, one another, and other forms of life around us. Cosmology matters. Cosmology is our relationship and understanding to the cosmos, y'all, that dictates the structures down here. I don't give a damn if you want to talk about, I don't believe in God, I'm an atheist. That is your God, baby, because that logic is still rooted in a disbelief of somebody else's belief system, which means that you have to understand at least something of that belief system and believe in it somehow, that others believe in it for you to be a fucking atheist. At the end of the day, the cosmology that underpins both of those logics still holds. You see what I'm saying, y'all? If we want to build new worlds, we got to get to the structure and roots of things. That's why shit's been going on, Grace. And it's going to continue to going on. And I don't say this to scare, fearmonger. It's just a hard-ass, loving reality check. This is just the beginning. Now, when I say that, that doesn't mean you throw your hands up and say, oh my God. It's say, okay, if this is just the beginning, then where do I want to take this energy? This is the responsibility, y'all. This is alchemy. I get so goddamn tired of Western science sometimes because they think they know every goddamn thing. But when in essence, they become the best location of the articulation of the colonial project. You take nature, you take natural things, you take relationships that are harmonious and have to be understood in relationship to each other, and you bifurcate them and you place them into these discrete kind of disciplines, and then you sometimes completely don't talk to each other because you think your lens is right, and then because you've regurgitated that over and over and over again over space and time and said that that is the kind of main logic system and that is the embodiment and epitome, right, of intelligence. When you then make these so-called discoveries that folks have always known, right? It drives up a fucking wall, because that is the issue. That's the perfect example of what we're in. It's a replica of a replica of a replica that's told itself that it is the embodiment of intelligence. And don't really question it, because if you question it, somehow that is the pseudoscience. It makes no sense, y'all. Everything has to be questioned from a lens of curiosity, not a lens of I am right and you are wrong. So if we take that, right? If we take that and we understand that this is just the beginning, right? And we believe that and we feel it in the bones. We don't just think it and let the mind go. Because, baby, y'all, I know my mind. I can go all kinds of doomsday, right? And we've been trained to go doomsday because that is the art and culture and imagination we've been fed for a few decades, y'all. Culture is war. The first war is always going to be a cultural, spiritual and cultural one, okay? If we understand and pull back and feel it and embody it and understand, though, that they need and feed off the fear. They feed off the chaos. They feed off you reacting. They feed off your mind. They need you paralyzed. If you realize it's just the beginning, but you can alchemize. That we've been taught this our whole life, transmutation. Put all that shit you've been learning. If you've learned from other spiritualists, and I'm going to call you out now, okay? If you've been learning from other spiritualists, whether it be, say, Mambo, Liz Ruth, or who are some of the other ones that have been online for a while, or other ones in your elays or in your other practices and stuff. If you've been teaching and learning from all these practitioners, now's the time to embody it and practice it, right? This is where we're going to truly see those who can embody knowledge versus those who just consume it. And this is what Saturn is trying to get us to understand. We have to embody this stuff so that we do something. Because when Saturn and Neptune dry out in Aries at 0 degrees in February 20th, it's just the beginning of this kind of quote unquote new world order. It is a new world because we're seeing a collapse right now, y'all. We're seeing a collapse head on into where it always was going to go, right to its beginning, right to its origin. Because time is in a loop. Here's the thing, we're not going back in time, we're looping again. And each loop gets a bit tighter and it gets a bit more deadly, especially when we don't learn from that past. And when I say learn, embody that learning and then do something fucking different, y'all, if it didn't work. If we just regurgitate it and use that as the template and calcify it, right, instead of actually honoring it, then that loop gets tighter and it does get more deadly. So no, we are not repeating the past. We are looping in that past. We have the responsibility to break that loop. So now is a time of feeling. Now is a time of in the bones of things because the structures are crumbling. This is just the beginning. So how do we alchemize? How do we alchemize? Well, then look to the opposition. Again, the chart gives us prescriptions, y'all. It's not just going to tell us, y'all fucked. It's giving us, it's showing us, right? It's showing us the different possibilities. Mercury is the crossroad. Mercury is in Capricorn right now, too. It's making its way closer to the triple conjunction, but it's not next to it. It's a few degrees off, and it was a few degrees off starting here. So Mercury is kind of being like, hey, y'all looking at this, right? What are you going to do with it? Right? Because there's a choice to be made at the crossroad. You don't lay the elbow down and think that's just what happens. You here, I'm gonna throw some water, some wine, give you a little bit of blood or something, right? Blood does not always mean something's gonna happen. You still gotta activate that elbow. You gotta go to the crossroad and do something. And the action, right? You taking an action lets the crossroad know you serious. Because if not, they'll take that offering and they'll make the choice for you. The trick then gets blamed on the trickster spirit when the trickster spirit actually said, baby, I told you to make the choice, but if you want me to make the choice, well, shit, I'm not human. I'm just here to observe. Don't give your choice up to a primordial entity, y'all, especially one that may not have come down into human form for a very long time based upon the stories and myths or patakis of that tradition, and expect somehow it's going to be favorable for you. They are not human. So that's the other lesson we're learning. Being human has a responsibility. Now, we can say this is some bullshit. I'm cool. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got a whole ass Google Doc ready when I pass over that I've already told my spirit team. When I turn around, we are having a whole ass meeting. Okay, everyone is at the table and I am laying out my grievances. Okay, you did not bring me down here on this earth and make me an administrator to listen to other people bitch at me for decades and not expect me to have my grievances with y'all asses. You can do that, y'all. You can do that. I plan on it. They are sick of me already. Okay, but we are here right now. We are here right now. And there's a responsibility that we have to take because this is just the beginning. Now, if you believe that and don't go to the mind, but go to the body and feel, what do the bones say? The bones are probably saying, I'm not doing this shit no more. Of course not. So what are we doing? So that's these Kazimis. Sun Kazimi'd Venus first. I find that interesting. Venus got Kazimi'd first. There has to be a renewal of earth and air, right? Which is Venus. You've got earth and air, Taurus and Libra. There was a little stagnation there. There needed to be a re-engagement there. So where do your relationships, all kinds, where does your sense of justice? Where does your sense of money, right? And how do all those things interact? How is there needed to be a kind of growing up? Because Capricorn is a growing up. Because Saturn's a grown-ass planet. Saturn grown. So is Jupiter. Jupiter do grown. Jupiter does grown type of celebrations. Y'all ever hung up with old heads or gone in the old head lounges? I still got to go to some in the South Side, but I love me an old head lounge. Old head lounges, you're gonna get you a hard ass liquor poured, a hard fried chicken wing in a red basket and it's all gonna be like $10, right? You can't party with the old heads if you ain't got your head, right? It's safe. And it tends to be safe, right? Because these are grown ass people. They ain't trying to get their spot blown up. This is their spot, right? I want you to think about Saturn and Jupiter that way, right? And it's right there you go, Shay, a beautiful and good ass time, right? Because that's the point. The point is having a good time. Why am I going to go outside if I am grown? Think about this. Why am I going to put on some good clothes, smell good, go outside, spend my money if I'm then going to have to deal with some fuck shit? Why would I do all that? So grown spaces, right? So Jupiter, when you talk about Jupiter likes a good time, that's a grown ass time. How many folks can actually have grown ass time to hold it? Same thing with Saturn. Saturn does like a good time, y'all, right? Aquarius can have a good time. Aquarius likes weird, different shit, but it's going to be grown. It's going to be different. So can you hold it? You see what I'm saying? So we're being asked really to grow up because it'll feel better. In the media time, it don't feel good because it's different. It's new, right? New emotions will be uncomfortable, the uncomfortableness. So this is where my Taurus is especially, but all fixed signs, the uncomfortableness You have to make that the familiar, because that is what is taking you into something different. The strange has to become familiar and the familiar strange, so that we actually can world build, so that we can get into the bones and depths of things, right? This is why I'm doing my queer and chaos conversation. So when people talk about what are you doing? What are you doing? Well, for me, we have to create. We are living in the imagination and the aftermath of a war god. Yahweh is the war god, y'all. Yahweh is a war god. This is not no made up shit, right? And so for millennia, we have been told to give up offerings to a war god. So then, of course, the idea of the human inherently being vicious and being violent and needing these structures and a paternal figure over to dictate the children, because children, right, are property and women become children. All of this shit doesn't really make sense when you take a step back, but it does make sense when you are praying to and giving allegiance to a war god. So how do you defeat a war god, y'all? How do you defeat a war god? And it's not peace. What the fuck does peace mean when that is dictated upon the understanding of violence? But if violence is seen as normative, then peace will always be some weird, nebulous, fucked up thing, right? That will mimic that war, that will mimic that violence in one way, shape, or form. So when you're fighting a war god, y'all, what does war do? What does a war god do? It destroys. Father, Son, Holy Ghost. So then how do you break that? You create. It's creation, y'all. It's creation. This is why we're talking about the idea of a new renaissance coming in America. And I do believe that a new American renaissance will be coming, but it will be coming in the wake of a lot of destruction, because that's what happens. We are human, y'all. Humans create. We literally create life. 1 + 1 = 3. When two humans come together and make another. And then 1 + 1 can be 1 when two humans come together and meld into each other. Look at heated rivalry. That lesbian ass relationship. You know what I mean? Like, it's creation. It's not just 1 + 1 = 2. Exactly, Shay. Peace is an expectation you will go along. That is many times what happens. The weaponization of peace in a society that only knows war tends to make you have to be neutral in one way, shape, or form to that war, to that violence. We got to create, y'all. This is the creation of new worlds. This is why Saturn is preparing us and getting to the bones of things in us. Do you feel it? Right? It don't fucking feel good, but it should get you to do something. And I want you to take that anger. I want you to take that fear. I want you to take that that confusion. I want you to take that, whatever it is, and I want you to sit with it, transmute it, and create something. Let the hands do something. What do your hands want to do? Where do your feet want to move? Right? This is what is required. Creation, y'all. So for me, people say, what are you doing? What are you doing? This is why I'm really focused on creating spaces, right, that allow us to congregate together, focusing on those who are wanting to create through a different lens. This is my queer and chaos conversations. I'm always adamant about fuck trying to talk to everybody. I hated that idea. When I was working at Beloit, I got a lot of shit. I got a lot of shit when I was working at Beloit, when I was creating kind of programming and engagement that would bring the community together with the school. Because again, at the time, I was also organizing and working and organizing. I'd organized Black Lives Matter Beloit, kind of local chapter where we're trying to do this kind of work. At the time of the height of BLM in the mid 2010s, excuse me. And so I was sitting around the table with my staff and my team, and we were trying to think about how we could all work together. Because again, my office housed different federal programs and foundational programs, and then I was the institutional arm of it, who had $400 to do all this work. And so I had to be careful with legs and regs of the different of what is and is not allowable, but also realizing that there were resources there. We just had to be more creative with them. So from there, we just my former the McNair director at the time, Atira, was like, well, we need to do something to get these folks woke. And I was like, yeah. I said, well, shit, why don't we just do a Get Woke series? And so from that conversation ended up being I created this Get Woke series where we brought national issues home as a way to awaken the kind of local landscape. And this is a way that we can, talk about these kind of pressing issues. 'Cause at this time, y'all, is when Turning Point USA was also really loud. Okay. Charlie Kirk's ass. Okay. So at this time, there was a lot of us were being targeted. So you had the rise of BLM that's happening because of state sanctioned violence. You've also got the exact same time, you've got universities being targeted, heavily targeted with suppression of speech. We are being told we needed to be civil, have all of this civil discourse, which is again this peace and neutrality bullshit. I am adamant about this. Do not come to me with civility because I will come to you with fire because it makes no goddamn sense. Right. And then so you had that going on at the same time. So we had to both, and then we had the board at Beloit that was very heavily split between quote unquote liberal and conservative, but we had Diane Hendricks on the board. Diane Hendricks is the richest woman or one of the richest women billionaires in Wisconsin, but at that time she was on the fucking board of President Trump's economic planning, and she was also the one funding that former Governor Scott Walker, who got his ass in Wisconsin, and that's who decimated the goddamn university system because she's a big charter school person. Okay, this is what I was dealing with. All of us were dealing with at this time. In a university, in a college that was telling us that they purported to be an anti-racist institution. Like it was literally a mind fuck, y'all. Okay, it was a mind fuck at the time. So I thought, let's break the converse and move the conversation because I wanted to use their language. We were told they wanted to have listening and learning sessions. I can't make this shit up, y'all. It was a committee on listening and learning for civil engagement or some shit like that. Jesse, if you hear this, please correct me. Because Jesse was the person in my office that volunteered to be on that fucking committee so that we knew what was going on. A lot of y'all talk about strategy and revolution and all that, but if there is no strategy because you're too afraid to get dirty. You're too afraid to get dirty. You in a dirty ass house in a dirty ass state that's got a fucked up history. Ain't none of us clean. You need somebody that can sit at that table and at least be able to stomach. And then when they come out that table, be able to relay it back, but they know that they're also protected. They can be cleansed by the folks that they are with. That is cleansing and protection, y'all, when you are walking into a dirty house that has all the goddamn resources. So back to this story. So Jesse volunteered to go on that, and he did. He sat there and he took all the notes and he pushed back when he came. But when he came back, we had information, and that is what helped me and all of us strategize about how we can use then that logic. Because I knew they had no idea what they were doing. You're using this language of civility and conversation when you don't know how to have a conversation, right? Because you truly don't understand what it is. You just want to maintain power and control. Well, I can do your job better than you can. So then I constructed the listening and learning conversation and called it Get Woke. And because I was told that there was overprogramming on campus, that the only time available were Fridays at 7 p.m. You probably heard the story before if you've engaged with my work. I said, fine, well, I'll take Fridays at 7 p.m. Fuck it. No one's there. We can use it and I can get the space that I want. And again, I was told no one would come. So packed in there for every session after the first one, once word got out, that we had to move it to bigger spaces and we had to limit capacity. Why? Because people wanted it. I didn't care about having everyone at the table because that was what I was always got shit for from the administration, including other black folk, the other black man on the damn on the damn committee, right? He was always saying, "Well, Nicole, how do you get folks who aren't in the room?" And I said, "Why would I want them in the room if they want to be there? Why would I want you in my space if you don't want to be there?" Right? Why would I want your energy in a location when I am trying to create? I'm not trying to educate, I'm trying to create. And creation will then breed the education, right? But if I'm so busy looking at you, I'm actually not paying attention to those who are starving and knocking at the door saying, please, we are here. So who are you privileging? Who are you centering in your education, in your site, in your revolution, y'all? And in doing so, right? That created the container, the space for folks. And from there, people started to connect. Faculty and staff who hadn't connected before were able to do so through there, through the Mellon grant, through How You Done. And other people then took that seed and it planted it in their own way in different locations. So that's a template that I realized can work. So that's what I'm doing now in Chicago at the Queering Chaos conversations. And the next one we're going to be doing is queering music and technology. Because the first technology is the body. It's the body, right? Do we know how to turn it on? Do we know how to work with it? Do we know how to engage it? Do we believe it? Capricorn season is asking us that right now, y'all. It is getting to the bones of things, and it doesn't always feel good. But it doesn't mean it's always going to feel bad, though. Can we be present? So Capricorn season is asking us to be present. And being present is not always a feel-good thing, but it is honest. So what is being brought up to the surface? Why do I say that? Because opposite Capricorn is Cancer, the surface of the waters. And those surface of the waters are being expanded, Jupiter. And Jupiter rules our faith systems. Jupiter rules our understandings of law and order. Jupiter rules our understandings of knowledge and knowing and who we listen to. And if we look to Pisces, then that's where Saturn is. So again, Jupiter and Saturn are parenting us right now in very different but connected ways, because this is just the beginning. And the parent can only do so much. The child does have to grow up. The human's going to have to become human again. So if we become human again, there's a responsibility to that. Yes, there is a burden to this thing called life, but it doesn't have to be so burdensome if we understand we all need certain things. And what we all need are the foundations of this earth, Capricorn being the earth itself, being the dirt of things. So what are we tilling? What are we loyal to, and why? Because Capricorn is a loyal sign. It will go to work. It's the seed goat. It understands shit takes time. If you are in that micro generation that has Uranus and Neptune and Capricorn, you should probably be in your early to mid 30s. Check your chart. You are that micro generation that truly does have the capacity to take a dream and bring it into reality, because you do understand what it takes to put your hand in the dirt and do something, to create it, to be loyal to something, right? My fixed signs, Scorpio, Leo, Taurus, Aquarius, right? What are you stabilizing? If it doesn't make any sense to stabilize it, then it will have to shift. So now we're going from Capricorn, a cardinal sign, into Aquarius next season. And all these personal planets will be moving. We're going to be having stelliums for a while. We are learning some hard lessons about the responsibility we personally have to take in the construction of new worlds as they are dissolving. So Saturn is saying, baby, buckle up. Yes. And as a mother that loves y'all, understand that tradition will come next after this, but who is the tradition that's being constructed? Who's constructing it? What is the culture? You defeat a war god by creating. You don't defeat a war god by thinking and then giving it up. That is peace to a war god. And your God, that war god wants your peace. That war god wants your peace so bad. Give him your peace. Give him your docility. Give him your criticalness. Give him your brain, right? Give him your body so that you don't believe it when it's calling and screaming and saying, what the fuck are you doing? Move the shit somewhere else. We have got to move the conversation, so we move the creation and the possibility making, y'all. So it's a lot going on, because that is the reality of the moment. The world is cracking. It was never sustainable. The lie is being brought to light. The nation state was never anything it purported itself to be. It wasn't democratic. Again, if we actually believe the history we keep bringing up, y'all, do we not realize that it's always been there in our face? People have been saying it over and over and over again. We charge genocide. We charge genocide went to the United Nations in the 1950s by Black Americans who brought it up to the United Nations that the United States was the proponent of a massive genocide. The UN agreed and the US said, we don't think so, so they fucking dropped it. This is not new. We are in a time loop that is getting tighter, and because it's getting tighter, it's making us more stupid. And I really do mean that. That is part of it, y'all. That's part of what it needs. It needs us disconnected so we don't feel this shit. I remember in training and reading all this stuff, right? Because I study race and I study both the ways that race was made biologically real and how then they had to be disproved, and then those sociocultural economic implications of that. And they all go hand in hand. And when you read these things, y'all, I remember reading all of these old ethnographies, reading a lot of the old what we now call forensic and biological, but then called physical anthropologists, especially from Harvard, who were doing the eugenics work, and reading just the vile things they said about not just Africans and natives, but everyone, right? That wasn't a white European man. And then reading these philosophers, like I had to read all this shit and then go to class and talk about it as if it's just an objective thing, no emotion. And the minute I brought an emotion in, the minute my voice got a little, had more bass in it, the minute that my body felt a little bit more kind of heated, I was told that that is not intellectual. Discipline's discipline because it disciplines us to remove our bodies from the knowing so that we just think it is a mental exercise. Right now, we have to feel this shit. When I left the academy and I did my first round of my Patreon, when I started to come out in the creation, I was scared shitless. Okay. I had a horrible exit in higher ed. Again, I'm writing my book about that because it taught me a whole lot, right? Embodied strategic dreaming came out of that whole experience of me having to process what happened. When I started the Patreon, it was called Knowledge Without Borders because I wanted to break the walls of the academy, the walls of the classroom. Can we take these things and bring it out? So the class I had taught at Brown, I figured I can fucking just teach on the Patreon for a hell of a lot less and we can engage with it. So the first book I used was Ebony and Ivy, which is a book I taught twice at Brown and in other places too, both independent studies and the like. And it talks about the historical context of the university, the U.S. university, and how it's heavily tied to enslavement and slavery and race. So race, slavery in the U.S. nations, in the U.S. university that helped construct the U.S. nation state. It is a well-written book. And I say it, and as a historian, Craig Welder did a great job, I think, because no offense to any historians, it can be a little dry. Sometimes historians, whoo, woo. But this one, it was engaging. It took me reading that book, I think the third or fourth time in the Patreon when I slowed it down. And by slowed down, I mean I was just doing a couple of chapters a week versus trying to do half a book in a week and then with other readings, right? So even the slowdown I realized was still consumptive, but I was reading a few chapters, I think 4 chapters a week. We were going to finish it in a month, right? I had to slow that down because by the time I got to that second or third section, if you go into the Patreon, all those early recordings are up. You can literally see me glitch. You can see me glitch because I'm feeling it. Reading it again and finally feeling what I was reading how these Ivy League students at Harvard and Dartmouth would purposely, when they brought enslaved people onto campus, they would purposely sometimes get their enslaved folks drunk and they would have them box each other for fun. Right? That was one story that was written down and recorded. It's not fake news. It's fucking recorded by the people themselves because it was a joke. They saw them as non-human. Like I almost wanted to throw up. Right? When you really embody, when you really allow the words to sit in your body, it brings up a hell of a lot of different questions, y'all. A whole lot of different questions. And it made me think about my whole training and how I wasn't crazy, how I was gaslit, how I was told to feel was the problem when the problem was these motherfuckers didn't feel. They used the black body over and over and over and over and over again and said that was a revolution. I am sick of it. I am sick of it to the highest steps of it. This is why I can't stand Afro-pessimism and the way it is weaponized and used as a location to tell Black folks that we are fucking walking dead. Somehow we are somehow the embodiment of death. How the hell are we death when nothing, even a vampire, cannot feed off of death and the goddamn U.S. and the global economy is fed off our bodies for fucking centuries? We are the location of creation, y'all. Whiteness is the vampire. If whiteness is the vampire, it needs life to suck off of. Even their own mythos says that. We are being fed these logics that are illogical, but then when we question them, the words are weaponized against us. Our own bodies are used as tools to be pushed up along us. Somehow we're not supposed to believe ourselves. You are too emotional. How the fuck can you read this shit and not? How can you not question these things? Why are we still using the site of a colonial project and a colonizer who has shown us over and over and over again it does not even like itself because it gave up its bloodline to a war god? Do we not believe them? This is the bones of things we're getting to, y'all. Virgo's in the Virgo South Node, a release of the knowledges and the ways we have been taught. Because Virgo was ruled by Mercury. And where is Mercury? Over in Capricorn. So Saturn is in charge right now. Saturn is in charge. And Saturn is being a mother. And a lot of us have not been mothered well. A lot of our mothers have not been mothered well, or our fathers, because the construct of the mother has been completely decimated, has completely been rewarped through the patriarchal lens. So the mother, and the ways in which it's been constructed through the nuclear family, has become the location that trains the patriarch. So it's hard to trust either one. It's hard to trust either one. It's hard to trust either archetype anymore. So Jupiter's been expanding in Cancer, but again, it's squared Saturn when it first came in. What are the stories of the family and the construction of those identities and those kind of roles, right? Through the patriarch's lens. Does that really work, right? So this is why I talk about queering things. I want to queer conversations. I want to queer the ways that we understand these ideas of the normative, because the norm is what is cracking. It's cracked our bones, y'all. Right? If the structures won't even allow us to have the ability to care for our bones and our teeth, right? Without going into massive debt, without having to, be loyal to a structure and system that constantly gets us sick, but then we have to beg to be healed from it. Doesn't make sense. So can we also let go? Can we let go of the things that we have been told that are what's going to get us freedom when they're not? And I think a lot about actually Renee Good. Let's talk about Renee Good for a minute. I got a lot of thoughts about this. Renee Good is the white woman who was killed by ICE in Minneapolis. She's also, we found out after her passing, shortly after her passing, she's lesbian, had a child, wife, and was a poet as well. And immediately from there, at least what I've seen on social media, and please let me know in the chat if you've seen differently, there was a lot of people talking about the implications of this, and do we now believe because if the police or ICE would shoot a white woman, what makes you think we won't come from us? And then people were saying, say her name, and then the whole say her name conversation came up again. And so people, were saying, say her name, Renee Good. And then others were reminding folks that's reserved for Black folks. And then people were talking about, was it Keith Porter, who was also killed, but no one heard about him, was a Black man before, killed by ICE around New Year's. And then people were saying, well, it should be that's for him. And then there was a reminder even about that no, actually the whole point of say her name came out of Black women in particular not being centered, because at the time of BLM, the rise of BLM and the height of it with state-sanctioned violence, it was mostly Black men whose names were being said. So say her name was actually for Black women. Okay. So following me here, right? So these are the kind of conversations that are going, and they're very circular because they get brought up and down, and then people are saying how they didn't know, and then other folks are saying, well, does it matter right now? You're being divisive, and other people are saying, well, things are new, so how would people know? So we got to keep telling these, like it's the same thing over and over again. And I'm taking a step back, and I'm like, this is not new though, y'all. And she's not the first white woman that the state has killed. During the BLM protest, another white woman was killed. Remember that, y'all, when she got ran over? People said, oh, see, if they kill a white woman, they're going to come after us next. Remember when that white man lit himself on fire? And folks said, well, see, that should do something. I want us to believe something, y'all. The state don't like nobody. She won't be the last at all, Grace. And I'm going to say this with a lot of, this actually I'm trying to say with some nuance, but I know it can be taken the wrong way. When the fuck has the state ever said that it cared about a white woman? I mean that. And that's not to say, and don't put it a hierarchy, y'all. Don't say it's at the expense of that. I really mean that. It's not about a comparison. I'm asking you, when has the state ever said it gave a fuck about a white woman? And I need white women to hear me when I say that too. Tell me, of the laws that were constructed were to put white women in their place. And because of that, it has consequences to the rest of us. Affirmative action was not about black folks at all. At all. It was about white women. Get your ass back in the fucking house and do what the fuck the white man told you to do. That patriarch. O.J. Simpson had a whole ass case. When you listen to the tapes of Nicole Brown calling in over and over and over and over and over and over and over again, I'm not even exaggerating, the police to help because a black man is beating her ass. There's evidence of it. And every fucking time they went away because that black man was the embodiment of what the patriarchal white man wanted a man to be. So then he got de facto, right? He got de facto, quote unquote, privilege. Where did that privilege actually get him? What did that privilege? I always say, y'all talk about privilege. I hear mediocrity because you trying to replicate the embodiment of the normative that will always move itself because it becomes dominant through violence because it does not have the capacity to actually do what it claims to do. That is why it needs all of us to be under its thumb, controlling. We have it over and over again, y'all. That woman died. And this is not me trying to place them above others. No, not at all. Not at all. I'm asking us to ask the fucking question. When has the state ever said it gave a fuck about a white woman? So when we get into these loops and conversations, it requires us to forget the past, a very recent past, because we're trying to maintain this facade of purity in one way, shape, or form so that it gives us the kind of excuse that we need to either do or not do something. That is how good these projects are, y'all. It keeps us here. It keeps us circular. We're not going back in time, y'all. We're present. We're here. It's just getting tighter. The machine has gotten better at being more violent. So what is the point of the conversation? So say her name. Yes, I do agree. It was for black women, but I'm also going to say this, and I'm probably going to piss off a lot of people when I say this too. But where has that movement gotten us? Where has it moved itself to? Where has it moved itself to? Where have any of these movements moved ourselves to? We keep calling down the dead, but we won't actually elevate them. We won't feed them. We won't work with them. We won't learn from them. We are cosplaying spirit, and spirit is also tired of it. Say her name, but when you say her name, lay the offerings down and elevate. Ask yourself if people actually want to work with y'all. Do they want to rest? Do they even know what they're doing? Do we know what we're doing? This is why I talk about death so much. We got to bring the rites and rituals of death back. Neptune and Pisces, for those 12 years before Saturn got there, had a lot of folks playing with spirit. Saturn coming in there had to show the ways that some of these folks didn't know what they were doing. When Saturn and Neptune dry out in Aries, we are really going to see those who had no business playing with spirit because spirit going to play back. And I really do fucking mean that. Because if you cannot own your own head, if you take no responsibility for your spirit, if you do not realize that you're going to have to believe your body and the bones and the structures of you, because if you do not know how to make that choice at the crossroad and the crossroads makes that choice for you, baby, you are opening up your vessel to become the next tool for the next charismatic leader coming, because they are coming, y'all. They are coming. They are going to be loud. There are going to be a lot of them. And they are coming for those who don't want to take the responsibility, who want to be sheep. So I say this with love. I really do mean this with love. If you are saying, I don't want to do it, lead me, then make sure you vet who is going to be the one leading your head. I mean that. Because I'm convinced now, too, that everybody wants to lead themselves. So this is also part of Saturn right now and the bones of things in Capricorn. Who does want to grow up and who doesn't? Who wants to maintain themselves and feign kind of this knowledge and knowing, but actually do nothing with it? Because we say her name, but what have we done with it? What have we done with that, y'all? Have we elevated? Have we learned? People are just talking. So now we got a new thing. So now we're going to do this whole... The education has happened, y'all. There's been a constant education of, let me put out 18 million think pieces of why you don't say this now, or why white folks don't do that. I believe them. I mean it. What happens if you believe folks, believe yourself, and then started to create? Started to create. What if we created, y'all? What do you want to create? What do you want to create? What do you want to create? if you in Chicago, I got my next Queer and Chaos conversation, January 20th. We're going to talk about queer and music and technology. And there we're going to be bringing the body in. I got DJs, Ray Chardonnay, an award-winning DJ who was also the very first Chicago Public Library DJ scholar in residence. So I'm going to have her there. She's also an archivist, and she works with youth to help them tell their stories. So I'm going to bring her together with Leo Mir, who is a vinyl spinning, disco focused DJ who also runs the monthly queer party in Chicago called Funk Stick, which is a party that no matter what kind of money you do or don't have, all are welcome. So actually tonight, he has a party going on, and Forrest is actually doing a 20-minute set there as a guest DJ. He's having a number of special guest DJs there, and Forrest will be spinning. And then a third, I've got Professor AJ Escafri. He is a professor of communications at Northwestern, but honestly, what's more interesting about him is he is the co-founder of Open TV, which is an award-winning platform of intersectional storytelling and television. I'm bringing us all together with me, and we're going to sit down and have a conversation and conjure and dream, and with the audience, actually create a curriculum. Because if we're going to queer music and technology, what is the curriculum? What is the playlist that you would create that could help you into the imagination and dreamscape? And once you're there, taking those dreams and bringing them into reality. So if you're in Chicago, come on out January 20th, Dorothy Downstairs, 7 p.m. Okay. Also, y'all, again, January 26th, I'll be doing the lecture, Astrology of 2026, focusing on fire and air via Big Liz Conjure. I will have the information down below for that too. Next week, we have a new moon in Capricorn. We still in Capricorn, y'all. Then I'll talk about next week in the show, I'll talk about the new moon. And then also by next Sunday, I will have a new set of offerings. I will be offering for my astrology services. And I revamped all of my readings. I'm going to do a lot more focus. A couple of the readings I'm going to actually be introducing, I'm excited about. I'm going to do one that's going to be focusing on Saturn. So working with your Saturn, whether you're in either one of the Saturn returns, an opposition, a square, or just want to work with and understand how to work with the energy of Saturn if we think about her as the mother of the crone versus the authoritarian. I have a reading for that. I'll also be having a reading that's focusing on your astrological middle age. So from between ages of 35 and 45, how to navigate that time. I'll have my Chiron reading along with a few others, but those are the two that I'm really excited for, the Saturn and the astrological middle age. So check back on the website by next Sunday, y'all, if you're interested in having a reading with me. All right. I think that's it for now. I'm back, y'all. Yes, thank you. Thanks, y'all. I really appreciate okay, rewind. I really appreciate y'all joining me live. It is really nice. I enjoy when y'all do the comments because I do read them and I try to engage, but it makes me not feel like I'm just talking at myself. Okay. So thanks so much. And Charlene, yes, it's Virgo, release and create. Okay. So come on back next week, y'all. I do like talking with y'all. Otherwise, I will talk at myself, and you can know, as you know, I bitch can talk. So okay. Have a good week. Keep dreaming, keep exploring. It's through the dreamscapes that we can say the futures we want, we can bring into the present. All right. Till next time. I don't want to be right. I just want to be free. Like Michelle sang, the tides where we come from, the light that lit the way for our ancestors in the dark of night, when they had to leave the spaces that tried to steal their breath and life, reworking while also learning how to work with the land that was also being worked, a land and people under duress. The trees did not ask if they wanted to participate in such brutal practices. Yet here they were. Here we are. All beholden to a power structure that only knows how to take and never to give, while telling us this is the right way to live. So I don't want to be right. I just want to be free. As Michelle sang, the cosmos. imagined that freedom lied in parable of the sower that sowed the seeds of earth seed that wanted to bring humans back to the stars, to start again, to start anew. Remember where we come from and who we are. The stars that lit the way, that guide the light. The moon that holds the tides of the waters. Our connection to earth and land. As above, so below. Yet we don't know, because we have lost the above and the below. So I don't want to be right. I just want to be free and journey to the cosmos.